the dark side of the paranormal with your hosts, June Lundgren and Wendy Stanton. Stay with us as we discuss all things paranormal. Welcome to the dark side.
Welcome to another episode of the Dark Paranormal with June and Wendy. Our special guest tonight is Rocky Smith. He is a local celebrity. He is the founder of the Oregon Ghost Conference, and he's also been Oregon City Commissioner. Rocky, welcome.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
You are a busy boy,
Yes.
aren't you?
I had a busy day today, that's for sure.
How long is the Ghost? What was the first year you started the Ghost Conference? Was it like 2011 or something like that?
Oh, now I have to do math. This is I'm not a math teacher.
Well, this is the eighth annual one, right?
Yes, this will be the 8th year. This will be
Yeah,
the
so
8th
it
year.
have to be 2011, I think.
Yep. So it keeps growing and it keeps getting bigger, so we're excited about it.
It's in Seaside, Oregon this year, isn't it?
Yes. And this will be our 3rd year in Seaside.
I wanted to ask
Actually, no, I think it's our 4th year. Oh my gosh. I think it's our 4th year.
Yeah, you're right, it is. Why did you decide to move it from Oregon City?
Well, I've been talking about that a lot, actually, because one of the reasons is it grew so big, and Oregon City just didn't have the facilities to host an event that large, and I was trying to find a bigger venue, and we eventually, moved it from the little community center there in Oregon City to the old Jackson Campus High School, which was pretty cool based on the history of the building and its ghost stories. But the old high school wasn't a great place to hold a conference in terms of internet access and just basic facilities needs. And so we were kind of desperate to look for another location, and I hadn't really done much legwork to find a new location. But I had 2 phone calls that came to me, and one was from the city of Seaside, and this was without any really proactive work on my part. And the city of Seaside basically had discovered our event online and wanted us to move it. And so I went out to Seaside and spent the day out there talking to the staff at the convention center. And they desperately wanted us to move to Seaside and start the event there and keep it going there. And we've been there ever since.
Nice. Do you think you're going to leave it there as a permanent home, or do you think at some point you may want to find another spot in Oregon to do it for a while?
Well, that has been a question for a while on my mind. When we started it in Oregon City a few years, I thought, well, we'll move it to Seaside, and then we'll, maybe in a few years we'll move it again. But I really love the city of Seaside, and I think the event has kind of created its own identity there. I would love to do something in Portland again, in the Portland area again. And so one of my thoughts was in the future to maybe move the Oregon Ghost Conference back to Portland. But I'm balancing that with wanting to keep something going at the beach. So what happens is, if we outgrow the facility at Seaside, which I thought we were going to this year, I almost thought we were going to outgrow the building in Seaside. But as you know, or maybe you don't know, that they're renovating the building and expanding the building, so it actually will buy us a couple more years there. So I'm kind of thinking maybe starting to host multiple events throughout the year instead of just one big ghost conference, and maybe do a couple different ones in different places. But I
think that's a good idea. Yeah, that would be
cool.
awesome, yeah.
And it's a beautiful facility you rent. I mean, it really is beautiful. It's got everything you want, and it's very comfortable. But multiples a year, because all the stuff you do is growing. I mean, you have your tours, and everything you do is growing. So, unfortunately, you're going to have to do more stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Or quit a few of my things. But you know,
Right.
I'm hoping to keep growing my business and see how that goes. You know, in a few years, I might consider going to part-time teaching or doing something else. I'm not really sure. But I want to slowly build my business. It's not something that I can quit my real job as a teacher yet. But, you know, I can slowly grow it. And if it gets big enough that it actually, you know, pays the bills, then maybe I can think about leaving the high school. But that probably won't be for another 5 years or more. But that's my long-term plan.
All the kids love you, I've heard.
Well, and, you know, I had June's son in class.
Yeah, a few years back.
I mean, I worked at a place that had several kids who knew you, and they're like, oh, my gosh, he was the best ever.
Well, that's good to hear. I was just out at the Christie School today, which is out there in Lake Oswego, and they're having a big event tomorrow. And I'm going to be doing a tour of their building tomorrow, and some of the staff members there said the same thing, that they had heard that they know people that had students in my class before. And so it's always good to hear that, because sometimes as a teacher, and when you're a teacher and a city commissioner and other things, I'm starting to get a little burnout. And when you hear that, you know, you get tired and you get cranky a little bit. And so it's always good to hear those nice things, because sometimes you don't hear it enough at school.
I can't imagine you cranky. I have never seen you, even told everything, without a smile on your face.
Well, that's not entirely true, but I appreciate that.
So tell us about your ghost walks.
Well, I've been doing the ghost tours in Oregon City for, I don't know, 10 years or more. And it really started as an interest in history and then grew into an interest in the paranormal, mainly because I was working at a lot of historic places that people wanted to know ghost stories about. And unfortunately, a lot of the paranormal groups and people that were coming to Oregon City to kind of get ghost stories or to investigate didn't really know the history of the city. And so I found myself being the go-between between a lot of these paranormal groups and psychics and the actual history, and connecting the two. And I really found it fascinating. So it really opened my eyes to the world of the paranormal, and working at the Ermitinger House, which I have spent a lot of time working on renovating and saving. And when I worked there, I had a lot of experiences there, and people talked about their experiences with the paranormal at that house. And I knew that there were stories throughout the city that were not being told, and really wanted to take my knowledge of Oregon City's history and open it up to a different viewpoint and tell some of the stories that no one was really talking about. And it's just kind of exploded, where now I have 4 different tours in Oregon City, and I hope to add more. And then, of course, the ghost tours, is what really started the Ghost Conference. It was a way to get groups together and promote the tours that I do, and it just keeps growing.
You are the gentleman that I must thank, because I was the lone little sensitive empath floating around there without anybody. And in 2015, all of a sudden this thing showed up in my Facebook. I'd never heard of it. And I decided to drag my daughter with me. And I have been so happy ever since, because it's a big family. We have so much and we support each other. And I personally, from the bottom of my heart, say thank you for doing this, because there's more people than me out there like this.
You know, and I think that's the thing that has surprised me the most about this. I've planned events for a long time. I enjoy planning events. But when something takes on a life of its own, you don't always think about the ripple effect that it has. And I know in just the last couple of years, people have said that. People have said, mentioned how the event has changed their life. Not necessarily the event in itself, but that they met someone at the event that changed their life, or that the collaborations and the groups of people they met opened their eyes to new things. And it has built a community. It's really built a community that has brought all of us together. And I think that we're seeing that in some of these new collaborations, and especially with the All Around Us movie is a good example of that. So it's kind of surprising to me, the effect that this event has actually had on people.
Just because you're a humble gentleman and you don't stand there patting your own back, but you have helped change a lot of people's lives.
I can't pat myself on the back because I'm working too hard. I don't have time for that.
You've got the energy for it.
Tell people about the Ermitinger House, because I bet you a lot of people do not understand or know what this home is. Okay.
So the Ermitinger House was built in the 1840s in Oregon City. It's Oregon City's oldest house. And the house was actually built for the Hudson Bay Company, or the Hudson Bay Company built it for Francis Ermitinger, who was going to operate the Hudson Bay Company store in Oregon City. And Francis Ermitinger worked for John McLaughlin, who we all hopefully know. John McLaughlin was with the Hudson Bay Company, was a chief factor at Fort Vancouver. And so really this house is of a time when the city of Oregon City was just getting started. And that's an exciting achievement to actually have spent the last 20 years trying to save the house. It's now open to the public every Friday and Saturday. And this year, Oregon City is celebrating its 175th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this city. I love Oregon City and its history, and that's really what got me interested in telling these stories. And the Ermitinger House was a key component of that because of my experiences there, and that just telling the stories of the people that used to live there, and not just trying to investigate a place and stir things up and kind of focus on the paranormal activity, but really focus on the story and the history of these people and why they're still there and why they want their story to be told. And I find that just exciting, and I find it never ending, because you're constantly learning new history and new stories and things that you've never heard before. And so it just keeps leading you to the next story.
Very, very nice.
So your dates for the Ghost Conference, if people want to come, are?
It's March 29th through the 31st, and that is our last. That'll be the last weekend of spring break. The break.
Awesome. I personally went to McLaughlin Union High School in Eastern Oregon, and I had an uncle who was a history professor who pounded the Hudson's Bay Company into my head.
Really?
So it's kind of funny, and I need to bring Heather up and come and see the house because it is a very special place. You poured your heart and soul into it, like you said, for 20 years. For the future generation.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Sorry.
There's a lot of history in Oregon City, even the graveyards. Mount Ruby Cemetery.
That's right.
Yeah, I mistakenly got on a bus for a ghost tour.
No.
And ended up at the Mountain View Cemetery, and I don't do cemeteries.
I do. I love them.
Because they always come out of the woodwork to talk to me, and I'm like, give me a break. But my sister-in-law says, no, this is the bus we get on. Let's go.
Right.
I know that last year you got a storefront for your tour business.
Yes.
And so you're almost old, aren't you?
I'm what?
You're almost a year old.
Well, yeah. I think, let's see, July. I want to say it was July. We'll have an anniversary party. It's still kind of a new to me because I haven't quite made it a year with the storefront. I have been so busy with the Ghost Conference and with the weather, I didn't do any tours in January or February, and so basically I'm taking the winter off. And when the Ghost Conference is done, I'll be starting tours up again. So my storefront hasn't been really open for the winter. And so I'm not at the point of hiring someone to sit down there yet. So if I'm not down there, it's just kind of closed. And people say, well, what are your hours? And I say, well, my hours are there.
Yep.
So I'm still working with that, but definitely it's always been a summer and fall thing mostly. I want to get to a point where I can host some events and some different little small things during the winter time. And I'm going to be doing so basically I've added more tours this year just having the storefront than I ever have. Like this year I did Christmas tours for the first time. And I normally don't start my tours until July, but I'm going to start tours earlier than that in the spring.
That'll be good.
Nice.
Yeah. A lot of people like to do that.
Exactly.
Spring, and especially with the history, because not many people, even living here, a lot of people don't know the history of it.
Yeah, I didn't know really anything until I started coming to these events and listening to you, and a person like you will draw a person like me, and I adore history, but you love it so much that you pass that on to the rest of us listening.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm going to get to do that tomorrow. I'm really excited about this, and I don't know if you two knew about this, but so I talked about it a second ago. The Christie School, which is out there in Oswego, the building was built in 1908. It has been, rumored to be haunted for many, many, many years, and I was able to go out to the Christie School and kind of do a tour of the building, and they're kind of having an exhibit opening tomorrow, talking about the history of the building, and so they're having an open house there tomorrow at the Christie School at 4:30, and then at 6:00 I'm going to be taking people on a tour of the building and talking a little bit about some of the paranormal stories there. And it was one of those things where, people that are really tied to the history of that building were, on honestly a little concerned, I think, about ghost tours, which I understand. And so I have worked really hard to make a really good balance between the history and the stories so that it's respectful and it is not kind of a shocking thing. It's, so I'm going to talk tomorrow about, my view of ghosts. People say, Rocky, do you believe in ghost stories? And I say, well, I believe in my own ghost stories or my own experiences. But the truth is, I can't define the word ghost, and I think people use that word to describe a lot of different experiences and a lot of different things. And so I try to really come from the history point of view, and I think that lets people at ease a little bit that are concerned about verging into the topics that are a little bit more controversial or religious or whatever, where I try not to really put my input on what other people's perspective is. I just try to kind of share the facts and the history and let them decide for their own what they think is going on.
Yeah, it's important to be respectful of, if there are souls or spirits there, be respectful of them, because they're people. At one time they were living, breathing people, so we need to respect that, and tell their story.
I think sometimes that, when you walk into a building, it doesn't always mean that the building's haunted. When you walk into a building, if you feel that energy, you feel the history of the place. And there's so many stories connected with these historic buildings that, and that's one of the reasons I think people don't understand my passion for preserving historic buildings. It's really, preserving the stories and preserving the connection of the people that were there in the past. Without those buildings still remaining, those stories get lost and the people connected to them get lost. And that's something that I don't really like to have happen.
I agree. I would do anything under the sun if I could to go out there and preserve. These are living, breathing things that we can look at that represent our history. And so much of it is disappearing and dying on us.
Especially in the Portland area. Portland is losing so much of its history right now. So I'm really trying to keep Oregon City, preserving its history as much as possible. But in this time frame where we are definitely seeing an expansion and growth, and people moving into Oregon, it's a very hard balance to preserve the city's character and history, but also expand and have economic development that's viable. So it's a tough balance.
For sure. I wanted to ask you, because I don't even recall if I've heard or know, but do you have any gifts yourself, or is your gift your love of history and the people?
I do have an ability. I do have abilities, and I still am trying to really figure out what they are. And so what I have found is I can, if I go into a place, into a building, I can usually feel a presence. I can usually feel an energy, and I can't describe it. I can't visualize it so much, but I definitely know when I'm in a place where there's something there. And usually I will keep it to myself, but in the times that I do point it out, people say, oh, well, yeah, that's where we see this person all the time, or that's where we have the experiences all the time. So somehow I'm able to pick up on it. I'm just not able to really dissect it and understand who it is or what it is. And I think there's a partial blockage for myself in maybe not quite wanting to know. So especially in the paranormal world, in this community where I have such good friends that can do that, Like my friend William, as you know, who I can't take seriously, even though I know he's extremely gifted. But when he tries to help me with my abilities, I just can't take it seriously. And so I really have to play with that and figure out, maybe find someone that can help me do that a little bit better. But, I think I have a little bit of anxiety about it. When I do tours, I try to keep an open mind and kind of be aware of the things that are around me. I definitely pick up things. And so as much as I want to do that, I really have a fine line that I don't want to cross, where I'm leading people to believe that I'm trying to make the tour better because I'm having an experience. So I find that really kind of fake when you're going on a ghost tour and the ghost tour guide is saying, well, doesn't everyone see this? Or isn't everyone experiencing what I am? Because it's kind of, it comes off as trying to show people that what you're telling them is authentic, when really the way to do that is to have them have their own experience.
That's ethical, and I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard to do. It's very hard to do that because, when people go on a ghost tour, they want something to happen, and not everything weird that happens on a ghost tour is a ghost. So, if something strange happens, everyone's like, oh my gosh, what was that? And you're like, well, it was just something weird. People.
It was the wind,
right.
acorn falls down. Yep.
Exactly. A branch falls out of the tree and everyone's like, oh my gosh.
The ghost threw it at us. No. Got to go into it with an open mind, and so many people go backwards. I am going to find something regardless of what it is.
and sometimes I wonder. Sometimes I wonder if there's anything going on. So have you been on the Queen Mary?
Oh yeah.
I haven't got yet.
Yeah, I have.
It's one of my favorite places. It's a cool place. And I was on the Queen Mary and stayed there and went on all the tours, of course, and went on some of the paranormal tours at night. And I was in this group, and I'm not kidding, but it seemed like this group of 20-some people, every single person saw a ghost. There was at first it was pointed out by someone in the group, and by the end of a couple minutes, everyone in the group was saying, "Oh my gosh, I see it! I see it!" I couldn't see anything. I just couldn't see anything, and I didn't know if is this just something that everyone kind of hops on and says, "Oh yeah, I see it," and then when you don't see it, you're like, "Am I the only person that's not tuned into this? I'm not really sure what's going on."
Yeah, it's an interesting place. There's a lot of activity. I went back in 2008, and we didn't go with the tour. My husband and I were just kind of walking around, checking things out, and we got lost, of course, because the place is huge.
Yeah.
So we ended up in the hotel room, hallway, and here comes this guy down on the hallway towards me, and he's like wearing an old-fashioned bellhop type outfit, and I'm like, "Excuse me," and he's like, "You can see me?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay." I said, "I'm looking for the first class pool," and he says, "I'll tell you if you help me cross over." And I'm like, "Okay." My husband's standing beside me. He says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm talking to the man." And he says, "Don't tell me. You're talking to a spook again." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm talking to a ghost." Yeah. Yes, okay. I'm trying to get unlost here and find the first class pool. Right. And so, I helped him, and he told me how to get to the pool. I'm like, "Thank you." And we went on.
Well, and like you said, when I got there, it was late. It was pretty late in the evening, and the boat was pretty empty, it seemed. But I just wandered around for what seemed like hours, and I found it to be so welcoming. And actually, the people that were working there would kind of say, "Oh yeah, no, don't worry, just walk around. You can check anything out you want." And it just has a feeling to it. You definitely go back in time. The music is playing, and you feel like you're in a different time period. And so I didn't see any ghosts there though, but I do enjoy going there.
We found a small ballroom. It's beautiful, hand carved.
Yes.
Everything was just so gorgeous. And I hear this music, and I'm like, okay, where's it coming from? And I go over, and here's this couple. They look like they're in like 1930s dress. They're all dressed up, and they're ballroom dancing. And the music is going. I'm like, okay. And they're like, I said, do you need help? And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, you want to stay here? And they're like, yes, we met here. We got married here. We never had any children. We spent every anniversary here, and we just want to remain. And I'm like, okay, well, you know where to find me if you want help. I said, go ahead and continue to dance.
Wow.
Enjoy. So what so far has been your favorite thing to happen to you? Whether you were working in the house or doing a tour, what has been your favorite thing?
Oh boy. That's hard. I think the favorite thing is that it just is never ending. That it never gets boring. The people that you meet and the experiences that you have. So I'm taking a general, wide view at that question, because I can't get that specific. It's just a love and a passion for the history, and it never gets boring to me. Every time you go into a new place, you have a new experience, and I just want to keep learning more about it. And it still feels like it's new to me. When we were just talking about the Queen Mary, when I was at the Queen Mary, I was in the area off the pool where the dressing rooms are, and that's where a little girl named Jackie is supposed to be. And I never saw anybody, but I was standing there in the dark, clearly felt that there was someone standing next to me. And when we left out of the pool area, several people told me that she was standing right next to me holding my hand, which I didn't know. So it's things like that that make you want to kind of keep going back. And I find that as being a teacher, I was at Preston Castle this last summer for their paranormal conference, and it really bothered me. But I want to go back so bad. It bothered me because the kids that were there were so in need of, it felt like there was one little boy that clearly was following me around there. And it was a really emotional thing for me. I find when I go into these places that frequently it's kids that follow me around. And it has a lot to do, I think, with me working with kids so much of my life. But I had such a passion for that building and the Preston Castle. So to me, as emotional as it was, I still want to go back, and I still want to explore more of it.
Yeah, you're not done yet. There are other things there that need your attention.
That's interesting. Why do you say that?
Other littles that need you.
You never stop learning.
Yeah.
You always.
Uh-oh, we're having a little drag there. Me? just because I feel it. It's one of those things. Your heart is still being called. That's why you're like, I need to go back.
Yeah. And that was another example of someone else seeing something.
There are other messages there for you.
Yeah, I believe that.
Rocky, it's Michael.
Yes.
I had a comment in the chat from Kristen, who said that kid spirits love you. And,
well, I didn't say they love me, but
so
they follow me. I don't know if they love me. But.
Yeah, I just thought that was, I wanted to let you know that we had a comment on that because you were just talking about that. And maybe because you're a teacher, I don't know. Maybe they know and they follow you because of that.
Yeah. And actually, it does get emotional for me, honestly.
The Skype connection is pretty lousy.
There he goes. There he's moving again.
Okay. All right. I don't know if that's helping, but. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if I lost June and. Yeah, we lost them. Well, I can kind of answer that question. I guess if people are still listening, but okay. So Kristen actually just texted me, so she says she can hear us fine. So the thing is, at Preston Castle, I definitely felt that there was a little boy following me around, and people realized that it was that it was affecting me, and people wanted to know more about that, and so I kind of left the room because it was so emotional, and I ran up the stairs, and as soon as I got to the top of the stairs, William Becker said, "Who's the little boy with you?" And so it was really interesting to know that someone else knew that there was a little kid with me as well.
That's interesting. I've never been to a ghost conference. You back with me, June?
Yeah, we're back.
Okay.
Finally.
You can have your show back now. I won't hijack it too much longer, I promise.
Well, you had a question about the ghost conference. You haven't been to one.
I've never been to one. What kind of stuff do you have for people that aren't like into ghost stuff, like for the kids and maybe the spouses and that kind of stuff? Do you have things for those as well, or is it like, I mean, what do you do? What do you have extra? Do you have extra kind of things, or?
Yes. So actually, that was one of the things I really wanted to focus on with this conference. Before the Oregon Ghost Conference, there was several ghost conferences that kind of came and went that I would go to. Some of the ghost conferences that I went to were pretty small, and the ghost conferences of the past seemed to just draw in the paranormal community. And what I found what I found that was lacking was really the public draw. What was going to get people in the doors to come here for the first time, to come to an event for the first time, and maybe not the person that goes out and investigates every night, but someone that just wants to know a little bit about it, or has a question, or just wants to go on a ghost tour or something like that. And so one of the things that's been great is having this event in Seaside during spring break, where a lot of people are just in town for vacation and don't know anything about ghosts maybe, or don't know anything about the ghost conference, and they will come in and will be so excited about it because things that they can do. So, you can take a class on pretty much any topic you can imagine in the paranormal. You can listen to speakers. You can go on ghost tours at night. And so a lot of people that just want to know a little bit about the town or the history can go on the ghost tours at night. We have investigations. And for families, we have made it so that kids are free to get into the ghost conference 12 and under. And on Saturday of the ghost conference, we have a paranormal kids zone, which is a place that kids can do all kinds of activities. And this year, that is being put on by the Portland Ghostbusters. So, we have tried to open it up and make it so that it's an event for everybody. Even if you're a skeptic or you just want to come in for one event, like the movie premiere that we're having of All Around Us, which is going to be a big deal. So there's, a wide range of activities for everybody.
Hi. Good. My daughter helped out last year at the kids' activities. She assisted Aaron.
It was so much fun.
Yes, all the littles really seem to get into it, and it's amazing. I popped my head in really quick, and I saw all these little people really thinking some of the equipment was really cool. What does it do? They're very intelligent in their questions. Just because they were little didn't mean they were not smart.
I know that's one of my favorite things, is to talk with the kids there, and sometimes they'll start telling stories. So they'll start talking about their experiences, and some of the kids will start talking about some of their paranormal experiences that they've had, and even sometimes their parents haven't heard it before. And so it's just fascinating to hear kids talk about things without having any worry about how people might respond to it, because they're in a place where people are like, oh, that's interesting, or that, yes, I've had that experience too. And so that's been really fun to watch.
Exactly, and it actually, I think it helps them blossom quite a bit, because they know that nobody's going to put them down. They know they can ask those questions that they may be afraid to ask, and I think it's just wonderful that you have expanded it. You had specific classes like 101s, as far as I can recall, the whole time, haven't you?
Yes, we always do. So, we try to change a lot of the classes every year, so there's always something new, but there's always definitely, some of the basic classes for newcomers into the paranormal. And this year, we have the Paranormal Boot Camp, which is a series of 4 classes for people that are just kind of, starting out and want to know the basics of all aspects of the paranormal.
Nice.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
And see, that's for big kids, right?
I don't know if they have an age limit on that. I think most of our classes have been pretty open to all ages, especially if there's a parent there. But like I said, the kids area, several of our instructors from throughout the Ghost Conference weekend will be in the kids area to focus specifically with kids. So Linda Myers is teaching a dowsing class for adults, but she's also going to do a segment in the kids area for just the younger the younger ages. And so, we did one year have more specifically a kids class, but now with the kids paranormal zone, we're trying to kind of add little pieces to that. And it's a piece of the conference that I want to see expand so that eventually we will have more fine-tuned classes maybe for younger groups. But I think, every year we just add a little bit more and it's quite a lot. So this year, the new thing kind of was the movie, which is one of the things that, we hope will kind of keep expanding too, where we have the theater in Seaside that has opened this past year. In fact, those people that were at the Ghost Conference in 2018 wouldn't even know that the theater is open. So the theater had been closed for decades in the downtown right there on Broadway at the Times Theater. And it's opened back up, and it's beautiful. And we're so excited to be working with the Times Theater in Seaside for this premiere of All Around Us, which is the story of Seth Michael, who's a good friend of all of ours, and, about his life as a psychic.
Nice. You have, tell us a little bit about what takes place at the Ghost Conference, what kind of things that you have that might interest people.
All right. Well, we have, close to 30 different classes. So there's a wide range of classes. We have almost 20 speakers that are there throughout the day speaking on all sorts of topics. We do mini events, so we have several new mini events this year, which are kind of, unique ones that we've never really done before. We're doing a visual spirit communication, which Shayna Madsen and Seth Michael. Shayna has done kind of aura work and classes in the past at the conference, and Seth is going to do kind of some spirit readings, and use the aura equipment that Shayna uses to kind of see what that picks up as he's doing readings. So I think that's going to be a kind of new, exciting thing. Karen Fraser is going to do a sound bath, which is new this year. Last year we had seances with Yitzhak, who's from Portland, and past life regressions with Rebecca Hufford, and those are happening again this year. So those were the two mini events that we had last year, and so we're kind of adding these where they're a little different take than just a regular class, where they're more interactive and people are actually able to have kind of an experience as well. We're doing the ghost tours every night. So we have two different ghost tours. The ghost tours, one of the tours focuses on the downtown of Seaside and Broadway, and the other tour kind of focuses more on the promenade and the oceanfront, talking a little bit about the history of Seaside and the promenade, but also some of the shipwreck stories and the Tillamook Lighthouse, things like that. And then the world premiere of All Around Us, which I've mentioned a couple of times, will be Friday night, which we're super excited about. One of the cool things I thought about the theater was, one, we just wanted people to see the theater, and that's why it was so exciting. Another piece of Seaside's history that has been brought back, and for those of us that love preserving buildings and history, this has been a really exciting thing to see that vacant building come back. And I was reading a newspaper article that talked about the opening of the Times Theater in October of 2018. And I'm going to see if I can find it here. It said something like that they were talking about the updates to the building, and said that they were able to keep the shape of the building, but that most of the stuff in the building has been, renovated and changed fixed up, but it says that we've kept the ghosts and the light fixtures, basically. So, it says everything's been renovated, but we still have the ghost and the light fixtures. So, it's a piece of really an amazing seaside history. Kristen went in to kind of do some work to talk to the manager to kind of get this ball rolling to have this event. And several people that work at the Times Theater kind of mentioned that it was haunted. So we hope the relationship with them this year will expand to next year, where we can do a little bit more events with them as this conference grows. And then some other good friends of ours are the new owners of the Bridge Tender, and we've worked with the Bridge Tender for ever since we've been in Seaside. And they have just really enjoyed being a part of the Ghost Conference, and have made it really a tradition to open up their business to us. What that's allowed us to do really is take people through their business and into the upstairs where the old apartments used to be above the bar. And those are places that those apartments up above the Bridge Tender are never open to anybody ever. And so they only do that for us, and there's actually still tickets for that, which is usually the investigations usually sell out pretty quick, but we've been doing them multiple years. So I would like to tell people if they're still interested and they haven't been able to go on the investigations of the Bridge Tender in the last couple of years, that there's still tickets available for that. And that's one of the real cool highlights of this event. Let's see what else. Into the Paranormal is a radio show. Into the Paranormal with Jeremy Scott, and they're going to be doing a live show on Saturday and Sunday. Actually, that's who I'm actually doing a radio show with on this Saturday. So I'll be on his show this Saturday night, and then they'll be also, there on those 2 days of the conference doing a live show. And yeah, I'm just going to keep going.
Now let's touch really, really, really quickly on your right-hand woman, Ms. Kristen. You mentioned her earlier. Your little dynamo there. She seems to be quite busy going left, and you're going right. How do you guys do all this?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I just keep going, and I take day by day, and I keep doing more stuff. And I'm working nonstop, and then all of a sudden I just, if I need something really quick, sometimes I'm just working on the computer updating things, and I might need a quick question, and Kristen can just reach out to people really quickly on Facebook or whatever and get a response back. So, I'll be working and I'll keep sending her messages, and I'll look at my computer clock or whatever and realize, oh my gosh, it's 1 a.m. and I'm still sending her messages, and somehow she's still answering. And I don't know why she does that. I appreciate it, and she's helped so much, but it's just unbelievable. I'll call, because right now, basically for the last 2 months, all I do is Ghost Conference stuff. If I'm not at work or city stuff, that's all I'm doing is Ghost Conference stuff. So all day and all night, that's all I'm thinking about. So I forget that other people are doing other things like cooking dinner for their family or, doing whatever. And so I'll be calling and wanting to get help on something. And it's like, well, I'm in the middle of this right now. I'm like, okay. But no matter what Kristen is doing, she's usually there to help as much as I need. So it's just always nice to have a group of people that support you. And Holly, my friend Holly Swager, and my mom, and Jeff Davis, and Aaron Collins, a good group of people that meet every month, helping me plan this event, and giving me mostly moral support to making sure that I can survive and that I am doing the right thing.
There you go. I know that when I need to ask a question or something. Same with you. It's like I'll get a hold of her, and next thing I know, she's got an answer, and trying to figure out this evening because with this crazy stuff with Skype dropping and Facebook dropping, we had to figure all this out pretty quick.
Right. Well, it's been pretty amazing. That's for sure. I know we're going to run out of time pretty soon, but I should mention one more thing that I didn't mention tonight yet, which is one of our good friends, I think, of the Ghost Conference, who has been participating with the Ghost Conference for many years, is going to be back with us this year, and that's Nkasha Menti. And Nkasha, we're so excited to have her back this year. She'll be doing spirit messages from the other side on Saturday night. So that'll be our big event on Saturday night. For those of us that were out at Port Gamble, it was great to see her back and bringing us messages from the loved ones that have passed. And so I'm really excited to see her out at Seaside again.
That is awesome. So what is your website, and can people find prices and all that fun stuff really quickly so that people know where to go to get themselves set up for this?
Yes, so the website is OregonGhostConference.com. If you click on the schedule, it'll take you to the whole layout of the entire weekend, and you can click on any event and class schedule to buy tickets for any of the events. What I should tell people is right now, if you are interested in doing a lot of classes and attending our big events and tours, the best way to do that is to buy a pass, which is the first class pass. It includes everything, pretty much everything, and a t-shirt and raffle tickets. But those are only on sale through the 16th.
Well, they better get to it pretty quick. Hey, are we doing the bonfire again this year?
Well, we hope so. Last year the weather was, I'm not promoting it as a major event this year because we've got so many other things going on. And last year the weather was so miserable, and since we've been dealing with the winter so much, we weren't sure what the weather is going to be like. But definitely, there'll probably be a group that is willing to go out wanting to do that if the weather's good.
Some diehard, we can do this fans there.
That's right.
Well, is there anything else you would like to tell us before we end up here?
Well, I just want to hopefully, encourage people to come out to Seaside for spring break and the 29th through the 31st. And, even if you haven't bought tickets, you can check online, and we'll have under the ticket box page, you'll be able to get updates about which tickets are almost sold out or which ones are still available. So that way, if you want to drive out to the beach, you can, see whether or not there's still tickets available, because people can buy tickets at the ticket box there at Seaside.
And really quickly, I just thought of this. Pardon me, June. I know you have something you'll always want to say. Do you still need volunteers? If so, any of our people that are out there listening, I figured I would ask that way you could put it out there.
I think we're getting pretty filled up, but I would still have people contact us because there's always something we need help on. One of the things I know we always need help on is people that are interested in helping with technology. For people, we usually have some people running around helping people get set up that need it. And that's one thing I know that we still need help with.
Cool.
Well, we want to thank you for being on our show tonight, Rocky, and all your listeners. If you can, make it to Seaside this month, March 29th, 30th, and 31st. We'll be there. Ghosts and Girls is going to be doing a lecture, and we'll have a booth there. So come on down and see us, and thank you, Rocky, for being on our show tonight.
Thank you so much.
You guys take care.
All right.
Bye.
The dark side is always there, waiting for us to enter, waiting to enter us. Until next time, try to enjoy the daylight.